What's up, guys? This is Jessica with Whispers of Grace Healing. Um, I am here today because I was going to do the weekly energy after the full moon, and um, Spirit has totally sidetracked me. And they want to do some story time. Obviously, someone needs to hear this message, and I feel like this kind of goes hand in hand because I set my intention for, bringing about messages of what this full moon is teaching us. And it's the full moon in Leo. We're in February 2020. So I don't know how long this video will come out. And I'm hoping that, if there are people even in the future that need to hear this, like they'll find their way to it, and hopefully you'll hear it exactly when you're meant to, because that's how spirit works. But yeah, guys, like, I mean, I'm like so mind boggled how they have pulled this together, because I'm sitting here pulling out my tarot cards and they're bringing me to a lot of my books, and it's like they start making me pull books off the shelf and I'm letting them lead me to the pages and everything comes together. So this is what they have for you guys. First off, I'm sorry. I just like kind of totally went off there. But if you do enjoy these messages or this hits home for you, I really ask that you please like, share, comment, let me know how it resonates with you. And if you are new, welcome. So glad to have you here. And if you resonate with any of this, maybe you like become part of our family. We got a good tribe going on here. So the books, which I will be posting down in the description box in case y'all want to check these out. I have had all of these for quite a while, and Spirit just kind of, I don't read books like a normal person, guys, okay? They lead me to it whenever I need it, and this is one of those moments. So, first book that they're bringing us to is the James Van Praagh, Heaven and Earth, okay? And the first page that they brought me to was about the psychic senses and developing your psychic senses, which a lot of the messages that are coming out are like especially going to be geared towards those that are developing their psychic senses, that are starting to tune in, open up, and might have some awareness of, what they're doing, but also don't realize how important it is that when you are sensitive and opening up, like, that we have to take necessary precautions, right? And it's no different than those who have these abilities but are using substances or experiences in order to dull the energy and the abilities that are trying to flourish, okay? And I feel like that's why a lot of people end up going down some really dark roads, because they're running away from their destiny, their fate. So, because I think we're all supposed to, especially sensitives, empaths, whatever, like, I feel that we're all meant to be using and harnessing these abilities for the greater good and to be of service. But first we have to kind of reel ourselves in and not get so caught up in, the theatrics of what goes into this stuff, and really not only cherish it, but respect the process, guys, okay? So they're bringing us to the third eye, right? Like the mind's eye. And this is really about our foresight, like really being able to see things. And I feel like there are some people that are really starting to hone in on their abilities and might have a really strong third eye, but also ignoring a lot of the signs. And probably because it's comfortable, familiar, and, releasing these karmic patterns and these cycles are not easy, guys. Totally understand. But the message that they had from this was choosing to see what we want to see and ignoring what we don't. Okay. Especially with the messages that are coming out and all of this, this is what we do as humans, guys. Okay. It's a natural thing that we have developed, due to our conditionings in this world. We have accepted it as our truth. If it don't feel good and it don't look good, we want to turn a blind eye, even if we know that it's wrong, right? For whatever reason. Some people might have been raised as to not get involved, or some people have been fixers and want to overlook all the red flags. It can manifest in different forms. But I think it's really important, especially if you are actively trying to remove these cycles and patterns that you know are not benefiting your soul. That is the purpose of this whole message, okay? What is not benefiting your soul? This is not about physical matters and material needs. This is about what is benefiting your soul, your progression, your evolution, okay? And then the other one they brought me to was 104, which is about psychic protection. I couldn't fucking believe it, guys. And not only the sixth chakra, but it's the sixth chapter. Like, you can't make this shit up, okay? So they really want to warn you about psychic vampires, astral entities, and other potentially harmful energies, okay? So don't overlook stuff. Like, if you start to feel like and this is why I say be careful of who you watch and who you're around and stuff like that, because not everyone that does this is as aware of what some darker entities you can attract, especially when you come from a very wounded background, right? Say you were a drug addict or an addict in general, or that and listen, no judgment, seriously, but being promiscuous in your younger days, like, all these things can open up the door to things that you're not aware of. And then also staying in abusive situations, like just taking your power away, okay? So I'm going to read this whole thing because you need to hear it. Once you have learned the many ways to open up to psychic contact, you are bound to interact with a variety of energies, spirits, and even thought forms, some that may not be for the highest good. Any occult activity undertaken without knowledge and care can open up dangerous doorways to powerful forces. You must learn how to be mindful and fully in control of your own space before entering the psychic arena. I often tell students that having awareness and knowledge is not enough. You must be vigilant in safeguarding yourself from energies that are potentially negative or harmful. And this is, just your external surroundings. This is what you're practicing with, who you're calling in, all that stuff, okay? Please realize that the spiritual and material worlds are not separate from one another. And this is what I've been trying to get across, is that most people don't even realize that the veil is here, right? Like, we're calling them in, we're interacting. All of this is one big playground, right? And there are spirits that interact with us. What's to stop other entities from interacting when we're calling things in, right? Especially if we're hanging around people who have attachments, which it's absolutely possible. There's actually quite a few people that I know that are still in contact, or like in an environment where they have to come into contact with someone that I know for a fact like has an attachment, and it just got confirmed, okay? Again, like, some people don't want to see that there are things that are manipulating and causing, you know, such severe depression that you're wanting to commit suicide and all these things, and like you don't even know where it's coming from or why you feel so sad until you're out of the situation. Like it's some gnarly shit, guys, okay? So again, be careful of who you interact with, and fair warning. So um let's see. Please realize, yeah, that the material world and the spiritual world are not separate from one another. The astral level that is within and around us is a meeting place for many influences that originate in the physical, emotional, and mental activity of human beings. These elements are not always beneficial and can be detrimental to our own well-being. And this goes to our thought process. This goes in the way we interact with world. This goes with our belief systems. All of these energies that we choose to align with, right, that we accept as truth, will manifest and attract energies that may not be for the highest good. Okay. In addition, our own fears, anger, depression, and desires can invite unwanted energies to invade our psyche. Guilt, especially, is a harbinger of bad influences. If we consistently do things out of guilt, we unconsciously condemn ourselves. Guilt and punishment go hand in hand to and undermine our spiritual center. If we have done anything that we continually feel ashamed of or guilty about, we need to find compassion and forgive ourselves. Otherwise, we unwittingly deplete our own energy supply. When we become spiritually and emotionally drained, we become exceedingly sensitive to external energies and vulnerable to unwanted psychic vibrations. Sexual intimacy is another way that people can open themselves up to psychic attack. We must learn to use care and common sense in our relationships with others. The more we love and respect ourselves, the healthier and happier we become, and the higher the vibrations we attract on a daily basis. So, that's the James Van Praagh book. And then they took me to Sacred Contracts by Caroline Myss. Okay, it's a doozy. It's a big one. But they have a lot of good stuff in here. So then, of course, they bring me to page 199, which is the third eye. So not only are they bringing us to sight 6, okay, it's the 6th chapter, the 6th chakra, and again, they're bringing us right back to it, okay? So 199, I got it marked here. That is not page I wanted. All right, 199. So they want you to understand that your 6th chakra organizes your external reality according to your intellectual knowledge. So whatever you believe is your reality is going to manifest itself in your external reality. What is going on inside is what is going on outside of you is a reflection of what's going inside. Okay? So your beliefs and your attitudes and how you perceive the same forces in other people. So again, judgment, right? You see something in someone that you're not really sure of, like, okay, they are mirroring back to you either what you do not want, what you're tired of, what you're accepting, what you believe about yourself, and all these things. Like, so it's really important to not be so blinded because you think that I just don't want to see this, and it's the truth, right? We can't just choose like to see what we want to see and ignore everything else. Sometimes we have to look at what we are portraying into our environment, into our life, in order to, like, don't be afraid to check yourselves, okay? Don't be afraid to check yourselves, because sometimes we are the problem, okay? Sometimes we are projecting our own fears, our own doubts, our own insecurities into the world, and then we want to blame other people for it. Okay? So it's a hard pill to swallow, but when you're going through this process, it's absolutely necessary that you look at your life and say, yeah, I've accepted some really shitty behavior because I didn't love myself enough. And now I want to be a healer. I want to heal myself. I want to help heal other people. I want to inspire other people. Well, how do you do that? You got to start from the very beginning with you. Okay? Your strengths include your ability to evaluate conscious and unconscious insights and to glean wisdom from them and a wide range of experiences. So you need to ask yourself, what excuses did I create for myself that gave me permission to act as I did? Again, don't be afraid to check yourself, right? How many excuses did you give yourself to stay in a toxic relationship? How many excuses did you make for doing something that you knew didn't feel good with your soul? Right? Like, be real with yourself. How many things have you wanted to change to better your life, but yet you come up with so many excuses to not make the first step? Do I allow the perceptions of others to open my mind or to help me review my actions? If someone comes up to you and says, hey, I'm worried about you, are you okay? Yeah, I'm good. Well, I see some really destructive behavior and you get really defensive, right? If you're in alignment and you know what you're doing is the right thing, there's no reason for you to be defensive, right? Because you know it's in alignment. There's no reason for hostility. Do you allow other, and it's one thing to take other people's perceptions, and I tell everyone all the time, like, you're perfectly fine to have your own perception of the situation, but just because that's your perception doesn't mean it's my truth. And it's up to me to be discerning enough to realize my own perception of the situation and go with what I feel is right for me, right? I'm not here to make decisions for other people, and you aren't either. You are here to make choices for yourself. And it's up to you to either be able to take constructive criticism if you really want to better yourself, but it's also being discerning enough to say, like, if someone comes at you in a way that it's their inner child that's wounded and, having a cry for help, right? It's discerning enough to say, well, I understand why, you feel that way, but that's not because I did this, whatever, or I said this. Whatever you have to do in order to get the point across of where the trigger is actually coming from. Okay? Do I frequently make up reasons that allow me to act against my best options? Do I frequently make up reasons that allow me to act against my own best options? So even if you know that there's a better way to go about a certain situation, or if you know that there are doors that are open up for you, that you have, golden opportunities, do you make up reasons that go against your better judgment? Do you allow fear to create that resistance within your life so that you won't move out of a situation that you know is no longer serving you? What fears do I allow to control my mind regarding my prostitute or any other archetype? Okay, so there is a chapter back in here with the prostitute. Not going to go into that. But again, I'm just going to, maybe in there talking about like sexuality, right? I don't think it necessarily means prostitute, like you're being a hoe, okay? I feel that this is talking about, do you allow fear to control your mind, especially when it comes to your sexuality, right? What attitudes are causing me harm concerning issues of money, sex, and power? And this goes into the next the next story that we're going into, because it's asking us to release the control and the manipulation and the need to be living in such a primal instinct of our lower three chakras. Okay. So, what attitudes are causing me harm concerning issues of money, sex, and power? So, ask yourself, what are your relationships with money, sex, and power? And is it a healthy dynamic, right? Are you living in fear? Are you living in workaholic mode? Are you feeling like sex is more of a physical contract versus a sacred, like, interaction between souls? Do you need to feel like you're in power and in control of every situation? How do I use my strengths when faced with circumstances that hold the potential of causing me to negotiate my inner power? And this is where I go into, like, if you feel like you have to defend yourself, right? Like, if someone comes to you and is trying to take some sort of power away from you, do you react out of fear or do you react out of strength? And the strength is by knowing your inner power and being able to stand strong in what you know is right. What have I learned through my experiences? Okay? What have you learned through your experiences? So then this chapter, they bring me to page 337. And this is about Jesus's healing. Okay? So we're just going to go ahead and read this. Sorry, y'all, my light keeps dropping. Okay. All right. So, accounts of Jesus' healing show an intimate relationship between one's ability to receive a timeless healing and one's ability to release the linear, time-based world. They show how we can move from the first column of physical reality into the third, or symbolic column, gaining insights that we then work with our inner laboratory, right? So this is moving out of the material and primal instincts and moving into more of that internal process, okay? Transforming lead into gold. But we have to be willing to live according to the mysteries of timeless laws, to serve the spirit first, to give up the temporal perceptions of the first three chakras of physical survival. Jesus' surrender to the will of the divine is apparent in the manner in which he constantly accepted what needed to happen next. In the Garden of Gethsemane, as we saw, although he asked God to release him from what he saw coming, in the next breath, he also accepted God's will. And I'm also going to tell y'all, listen, I'm not good with all these Bible names, so if I butcher them, I'm going to go ahead and apologize. No shame in my game, okay? So when he was brought before Pontius Pilate, the most powerful man in Judea, urged Jesus to defend himself, saying, "Don't you realize that your life is in my hands?" Jesus knew that he actually had no power at all, but was acting unconsciously under contract to fulfill his role by condemning Jesus. The life of Jesus was no more in his hands than was the power to make the Jews love Rome. But Jesus did not resist or argue against his divinely ordained destiny. Okay? So did not resist, did not argue, because he knew what his destiny was, right? And that is when the heart and the mind are in alignment, is when you know, okay? So then in the Soulmates Path, this is by Monte Farber and Amy Zerner. Love them, by the way. But they bring me to be brave. So they have an affirmation for you. I ask for what I want because I deserve to get what I want. Okay. And I feel more or less that this is just about being brave to speak up for yourself. Sorry, guys. Charlie's drunk. So how well do you express your own needs? How much of your time and energy and other resources do you allow a partner to demand of you? Problems you are experiencing with your love life may be the result of your not asking either your partner's other or even your higher self to give you what you are entitled to have. You may have a tendency to give too much of yourself and ask too little of your partner in return. You may be more comfortable living both for the significant other person in your life and living through them. Too many people erroneously believe that love requires giving of yourself selflessly without expecting anything in return. One can only feel unsatisfied by this kind of relationship, for it is not true love. In your heart, you know the loving relationship you seek is one where you and your partner give and receive from each other in equal measure. For this to happen, you must first identify what you really want for yourself and then ask for it clearly and directly, knowing you deserve to get what you want and need. And, this is being brave, standing up for yourself, and, being in harmony with self so that you can really understand the kind of people that you're attracting into your life. And especially those that are healers, we tend to attract the broken, the lost, that want to be found, but sometimes they don't really want to be found. They just want to be seen. And so it becomes a really vicious cycle when it comes to people who need help and see your light. So that's really where the unrequited love comes in. Okay, so then page 57, unrequited love. So, this whole chapter, which, you know, a lot of it is talking about abuse, okay? And whether this is something that you have been through, and like I said earlier, usually healers come from some line of traumatic history. And listen, let's just be real. Most people in this world have had some sort of traumatic upbringing or unsupportive parents or sexual, emotional, verbal, emotional abuse or abandonment issues. Everyone has something on their plate, so let's just get that out on the yard, okay? Let's just get it out there. But going through these things are not also an excuse to treat someone like shit. Okay? And it's also not an good excuse for you to accept that kind of behavior because that's all you think you deserve. And if you have someone in your life that is any form of abusing you, take some time to distance yourself. I promise you, I've been there. When you're in it, you don't see it so clearly. And I even said it earlier, even if it's a friend, if it feels toxic, if it feels hectic, if they're constantly complaining and they're constantly pointing fingers and life fucking sucks, you are going to get depressed. Your energy is going to get depleted, and it is not your responsibility to help bring these people up. If they want your hand, they will grab it, but be careful of those that are only grabbing it to pull you back down, okay? So be aware of what you are letting into your life. Be aware of what you have already accepted into your life. If that is a situation that you currently find yourself in, I'm here for you. Okay? You are not alone. You're not the only person that is going through this, and we have a great support system here. And I really want to let everyone know that, like, especially with this whole Jesus story coming into light too, like, we have to also be aware that just because these people were meant to come into our life, obviously to teach us a lesson, maybe it was a lesson to teach you how to be brave and stand up for yourself and finally break that cycle of accepting less than what you deserve. Okay? And that's why this chapter is coming out. Don't be afraid to ask for what you deserve. Asking for reciprocation, that reciprocity in a relationship, whether it be a friend, family member, a partner, whatever the case may be. When someone loves you, they're going to show up for you, right? You don't have to force someone to see your worth. You don't have to force someone to show up in a certain manner. If they love you, they will know. They will know what makes you float, what makes you smile, what makes you laugh, what makes you feel alive. And you will never have to doubt where you belong in that person's life. Okay? So I hope these messages resonate with you guys. And if you need help, if you need support, get it. I'm here for you. And be careful. Be careful out there, okay? So I do feel like this is going to be a huge lesson around this full moon in Leo. And we'll see when we pull some cards later on this next video. But I felt the need to do this first. So if these messages resonate with you, I hope it finds whoever it needs to find. But please make sure that you like, share, subscribe. Drop me a comment. The more y'all interact with it, the more people get to see this. And hopefully it will find everyone that it needs to. So I love you guys, and I wish you the best of luck. I'll see you soon. Bye.